And on this September 11th, we continue to honor and remember the lives that were lost on that day. Hard to believe already 23 years since that day, which tragedy took our country, specifically in New York, but other surrounding areas as well. And now we are remembering and continuing to honor those lives that were lost, because we can never, ever forget. So I want to bring in our next guest here to talk about her husband. This is Monica Iken. She lost her husband, Michael. He was on the 84th floor working that day, and it was a beautiful Tuesday morning, and then a tragedy occurred. Monica, thank you so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox. And if you could just tell us a little bit about Michael as a husband to begin with.
Well, Michael was just a beautiful soul. I didn't know out of the gate, but I knew once I got to know him, what an amazing soul he was. He radiated just this beautiful energy and love, and his smile and his blue eyes and his little pink lips, I always would say. And he just did something to me. I don't know what happened, but he did it. And from the moment I realized that he was the one, that was it. We were together. We met on 9/11, 1999, and we were together on the last day of his life. And yesterday, on 9/8, we just celebrated his he would have been 60. So we did a whole family, friends thing on the Circle Line. We wanted to do the sailboat thing because he was sailing 9/11, and we couldn't do that because they were out of commission because the Coast Guard was coming in. So for inspection, so we did the Circle Line, which is the next best thing. And we're on the water, and we saw more sailboats than I've ever seen in my life on his 60th. And so it's so nice to be able to celebrate his life and honor him today on this horrible day, but it's a beautiful day. And, you know, we're here to make sure that we never forget those souls that we lost. And I was so blessed to have him for 2 only short years and married 11 months. And I'll be grateful to the day I die. And, you know, it becomes harder and harder because people don't understand, you know, he would have been 60 on 9/8. And I always worry now, 23 years later, I'm still here, but what happens if I'm not here? So I was very emotional celebrating it, knowing that what happens? Who takes over the torch? I still don't have his remains. The only place I have to go is that beautiful memorial, and I'm so proud of it. It's a world-class memorial museum. I'm honored to be on that board. I still continue my work with September's Mission, which is behind me. I'm always trying to do the right thing for him and all those who we lost and all those we continue to lose today. And this is a day of just remembrance and honor, and just honoring those souls because they had whole lives ahead of them. And it's so hard watching the children and saying that they didn't know their loved ones. It's so painful for me because I know 100 million have been born after 9/11. So it's so important, like we keep doing things like talking about what the history is. This is so important. It's not about politics. It's about our loved ones and what we need to do to make sure that we never forget them. And this never happens to those 100 million children who are born after. That is our job. And I'm so honored to still be able to do that work. But I'm so worried, God forbid I'm not here. What happens? Who carries the torch for our loved ones? Who does that? So I told my girls, Megan and Madison, your job, that's your job. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
They get a little stressed out, but I'm like, no, you have to do it. It's your job because I might not be here forever. And I need to be able to honor him. I will see him one day, but I physically need to be able to do that for them and all those who are no longer with us. It's so important we carry their legacies and never forget. And I'm seeing the messages now and seeing all the children, and it just crushes my heart. It's so sad, but so amazing. We're still here to do it. So I have to always tell myself, it's okay. We're here. You're still doing it. I'm going to go down in a little bit. I'm doing this to make sure that we never forget and that the power of God is still here. Our faith is here and the spirits are here. And what a beautiful place we have, that world-class memorial museum. Thank you, Michael Arad. Worked very closely with him to make that happen and all those who were part of this process. So I'm grateful to them. So remember, this is not a political day today. This is all about our loved ones and honoring those who are sick, we're continuing to die from doing the right thing and honoring them and our first responders. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah, it's so true. And I'm so glad that you said that you got to keep the memories alive. You got to keep talking about them and continuing to just always be thinking about their memories and the life that they had, because on that day 23 years ago, life was frozen for so many people, including yourself. You were just married to Michael, and you thought, okay, we're going to have this beautiful life together forever. And on that day, it was shattered, but you're still able to put his memory and put his legacy out there.
Yes, and it's so important. Like I had my two girls, Madison and Megan, after, but let me tell you, they're a part of him because he's a part of us. We're a family. Even if he's not here, he is a part of them. Even though they're not his children, he's still a part of them. And it's so important because we have to remember that he had a life. I had a life. I was a happily married woman. Okay, on 9/11, on 2001, we were looking to have our own family. And God did not bless us with a child at that time. And thank you, because I would not have been able to survive out my Michael. So that was a blessing, but I was blessed with two beautiful girls later, and they're a part of him because he's a part of me. And it's so important that people understand that. I will never, ever, never forget my Michael, because he was a part of me, and he will be a part of me till the day I die, until the day I meet him in the next life in heaven. And I'm looking forward to that, but not yet. I have things to do first. I'm getting ready to write my book for the 25th. I'm so excited. So it seems like everyone's doing that. Trump's wife's doing that, and Silverstein's doing that. So I guess I'm joining the bandwagon, but I'm waiting for the 25th to do mine. Have it ready.
Well, tell me a little bit about, Monica, about putting those thoughts to paper. I'm sure you have just so many thoughts and memories of that day of with Michael, but tell me, how is it putting it to paper and getting that ready for that moment? So in 2 years, that book will be out.
Well, the good news is I'm starting the personal story because I can do that. And thank God for AI a little bit, because it can be my little personal secretary, because all I have to do is plug in my name and it's like, I'm like, oh, this is great. I mean, only the facts that I got wrong was that I had children on an island, which I did not. However, that's pretty impressive. So I'm using AI as like my little secretary because I've done 23 years of this work. So all it has to do is put my name in and say, okay, say this, look up this, and it does it. So, and I have 23 years of stuff. All my stuff is still here. I have it stored. So it's all here ready to go. And to be, I'm surprised no one has taken a lot. Some of it's in the Memorial Museum, a little bit of it, but I have so much. I could actually be like Pataki and do his legacy, his historic library, because I have it. I have paper. I have it all. So all I have to do is go back and check a date, because remember, it's 23 years, and I've been watching things and checking, all my information now to go back. And it's amazing to look back and say, wow, I can't even believe how much I've done in 23 years, but God is good. I'm very grateful to be able to do it. And I will do it as long as I can do it. So I'm hoping, it's hard to write a book, but I have a lot of angels out there who will help me on this journey. And I look forward to doing, because we have this other one on Amazon, Dusk Till Dawn, and it has all the pictures from 20 years, David Margulies together. And it should be in all the classrooms, because I know also, here's the other thing, it just should be a national holiday, because I see all these children that I used to be an educator and a teacher for the Port of Ed, and I had my own preschool dedicated to Michael Iken Science Academy. We should make this a national day, because this is not acceptable that children have to take a day off to go and honor their loved ones. This is just not acceptable. I'm sorry. So all those politicians who now are out there because they want their vote, wants our votes, how about doing that? Let's do something constructive. Let's make this a national day of holiday, a national day that we observe and we do the right thing for those who we lost and we continue to lose.
That's so well put. And I'm just surprised that it hasn't been a holiday yet, where they haven't established it. When you think about it, it was such a hard day for so many people, and it was so nerve-wracking because you didn't know what was going to happen next with the world, and it was a scary place and time. And to think about when they would say, never forget. Remember, they were saying, and never forget immediately, and there were so many flags out the week after 9/11, the days after 9/11, and then as the years went by, Monica, maybe you can add on, but as the years went by, I feel like those flags went down more, and it seems, if it hasn't been for you guys being out in front and center and reliving the memories of Michael and others, that people would forget. They're not talking about it in classrooms either.
That's the problem. So with September's Mission, my foundation, I'm still trying to continue to do my work. I'm a humanitarian, I'm an educator, and I want to implement at least this book, this picture book, because it's easy and it has all the QR codes. It shows every picture for 20 years. Plus, this is something that we need to continue to do in the schools, and that needs to happen. And we need to get that curriculum established. Something is amiss here now. And I think 100 million children, let's do the math, that's a lot. So I think this is our time to say, this is 23 years. I see it on the TV right now with them saying the names and how they're feeling, that this is not about politics. I can see that. It's very nice of all of them to show up this anniversary. It's very interesting, of course, because this is a political year and an election is coming. But you should be coming every year. If you really feel this strongly about this memorial and this museum and the lives that were lost, and you come every year, not just on a political year. It's nice to see you, but that's not enough. And I think they need to make the changes and make sure that they do the right thing for our loved ones and make this a national day of service or holiday, so that children don't have to take a day off and we don't have to think about it anymore. We just do the right thing. That is what we need to do, because that's what happened on 9/11, 2001, and it should continue that way. This is New York. It happened here in America, and we should never let this happen again. And I'm also helping the Surfside families with the collapse, with their memorial. And thank God it's happening there too. So I'm very honored to be able to make sure I don't care how many souls, 98 souls, 2,000 souls, 5,000, hundreds, one soul. It doesn't matter. It's a loss. And we need to honor them, especially when you never found, or we have pieces of our loved ones, where I have nothing of Michael except that memorial.
And Monica, if you can just take us back 23 years ago on this day, and he obviously worked in the World Trade Center, 84th floor. What was going on through your mind when you heard of what was going on in Lower Manhattan?
Well, thank God he called me. So I would watch Regis and Kelly, and I was like,
yeah.
So, Regis and Kelly. So I was like, oh, I'll turn on the TV. He's like, called me before 9. I'm like, why are you calling me? Because I knew that the morning is this busy time. I never talked to him until like lunchtime, because they were doing all the trades. Mm-hmm. So he calls me. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, turn on the TV. And I watch it. I'm like, excuse me? And so I turn on the TV and I see this giant gaping hole. He goes, don't worry, commuter plane hit the building. Everything is fine. Everything's under control. It's in the first tower. Da, da, da. So I'm looking at this screen and he's talking to me, but he's calm as a cucumber. He's like, oh, everything is fine. I'm like, okay. All I'm saying is okay, because I'm not registering what I'm seeing and what he's saying. So I'm like, commuter plane. Okay. So then he says, I got to go. I'll call you right back. And I'm like, okay. So he hangs up. I run out to go. I'm like, yeah, I don't even know what to do at this point, because I'm like looking at this gaping hole that, they're saying commuter plane, and they said, stay where you are. He calls me back and he says, tell the family and friends, call them and let them know everything is fine. We're told to stay where we are. Da, da, da. So I'm like, okay. So he's like, people are jumping out of windows. I got to go. And that was the last thing he said to me, and the last words I ever heard him speak. So I ran out to the living room. I go get the phone book, because it's old school now. We have the phone book. I put the phone book in one hand and the cord phone on the other hand, and I'm going to dial. And I'm watching the TV because I'm sitting in front of it. That's when I see the second plane. I'm like, am I seeing things? Now, I thought I was seeing things. I have to be honest. I'm a native New Yorker. I've been here my whole life. So I'm watching this plane crop, and I'm like, that's a plane. That's not. Yeah. I've never in my life seen something like that, where I literally had the phone book here, the phone here, and I was like ready to dial, and I was literally frozen in my space. I couldn't even, when I saw it hit the building, I have never felt that feeling of surreal. I was like, this is not happening. This must be a dream. I'm definitely not seeing what I'm seeing. I mean, that does not happen. A jumbo jet flying into a building. That does not happen here. So I really could not even move. I was like trying to dial. And then once I realized what happened and snapped out of it, I tried to dial the phone. Of course, everything was busy, busy, busy. So that's when my nightmare began. It was the worst thing because everybody thought he got out because his best friend got out. It was horrible, horrible, horrible. The whole thing is horrible.
Seeing those images and the way they would keep replaying on that day and the weeks after, months after, and for you to know that he was in there and to never have him where you were able to get at least some remains. My heart goes out to you when hearing these stories about what you just said. When you knew your nightmare begun when you saw that second plane.
Absolutely, and I have nothing. Not even. I mean, people have gotten IDs, rings. Ours had an engravement in it. I got zero. All I know is my husband went to work one day and never came home. Nothing. Look, I get chills just talking about it. I can't even begin to tell you how that feels. It's the worst, horrible feeling to know that you cannot bring your husband home. I have nothing except that beautiful world-class memorial museum, which is why I started 10 days after to make that happen. I was never going to let them build over dead people. As long as I walked this planet, they were not building over dead people. And they're not doing it at Surfside either, so that's the good news.
Yes. And so, Monica, where can people go to get more information on September's mission and much more about you?
Yeah, they can go to www.septembersmission.org. I've been around a long time, 23 years. I still have the same phone number. People know how to find me. They can just Google me as well. I mean, I'm all over the place. September's Mission, that's my foundation up there, my logo. I'm not going, by the way, I'm not going anywhere. So I'm sure they'll be able to find me somewhere. So I'm here for 23 years and I will be here as long as God lets me be here until it's my time to reunite with Michael.
And Monica, thank you so much again for talking with us today. Very hard day, obviously, but I just want to let you know that for Michael, he's not gone. He's just waiting for you, and for that moment. So
yeah.
My heart goes out to you, and I'll be praying for you and your family. But thank you for all that you do with September's Mission and with everything else. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
And thank you for having me.
No problem.